Welcome to Jokakaka. I'm Jim.
I'm Sam.
And so now I'm sure you can tell because you clicked on the video and you've seen the thumbnail. We're doing something a little bit different.
Yes, we're going to start our Part 3 adventure we're calling Crusading through Part 3.
Yes, you heard him right. We're going to be reading through the entirety of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3, Stardust Crusaders.
Yeah, and we're doing it like how we did our Part 5 anime discussion, where we kind of do it by arcs. So
yeah, it's arc, but it's going to be kind of loose arcs.
At least the early part of it definitely is. Because, you know, Tower of Grey is like one chapter technically.
Also, Part 3 is like really fucking long.
Except for the end part where the Dio stuff is like 20 chapters, so.
No, I'm saying it is part 3 is long, so.
It's like 150 chapters, roughly.
So what we're going to be doing in this episode, and I think we're probably going to do it in a couple, is combiing a few of the smaller arcs. Mm-hmm. The majority of the arcs, so I kind of went out and I planned it because I'm methodical. He sent me
a very detailed Google Doc.
Where I went through potentially how we would go through doing this, and majority of the arcs are 3 to 5-ish. There's a lot that were 6. Sorry, chapters. I'm referring to chapters. And then you've the weird outlier where Dio's world is like 20-ish.
I think even the Darby 2 chapters are like long as well.
Yeah, that was like 11 maybe? I don't know. I have them all in a document. Whatever. This is not exciting. This isn't why you clicked on the video.
It's right next to your timeline for your Part 8 timeline.
Yeah. So we're going to, as I'm sure that hopefully the thumbnail title alluded to.
And hopefully this will be the I'm not sure how long this goes. Like, we're going to either have one or two.
I feel like I'm in the dark. I feel like I'm in the dark.
This is a test the test for the first episode, just to see how long. At least the early stuff is going to be a lot probably shorter chapters.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about just the first 3 chapters, at least at this moment.
And spoilers.
Yes, spoilers.
Yes.
Okay, so
for the people who somehow just only watch or read Part 3 somehow.
I was gonna say, okay, no, so I think it's gonna make sense to not really talk too much about later parts, but like our fans are JoJo. They're like JoJo fans. Like they've read everything. And
more so talking about, you know, like stand rules or like what early Star Platinum or
those aren't really
Green
spoilers. Like they might not necessarily be spoilers, but whatever. Like
we're gonna talk stuff that happens later on, especially in Part 3.
If you for some reason are watching this and you haven't read Part 3, just stop because we're just gonna spoil Part 3.
Read or watch it.
Yeah. Or haven't read any further than like Part 5. Maybe you're an anime only, so also why you're here. We're not going to spoil like major character deaths, so don't worry about that.
Characters never die in JoJo.
We're only going to really heavily spoil Part 3, I'd imagine. But okay, this has been a very long preamble. Let's get
it's the first episode, you gotta.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
So, yeah, chapters 1 to 3, which is basically the Jotaro Kujo chapters.
Yes, so one thing... So I think this is kind of something we have to bring up, is the art style.
Yes.
So it's really funny going from reading Part 8 to jumping back to Part 3, because it almost feels like an entirely different person wrote it.
Well, even going, we watched a lot of Part 5 when we did our podcast. We would, go back and see a lot of the art from Part 5, and even that looked like completely different than what we got here. This still looks like it has Part 1 and 2 art with it.
Yeah, so...
heavily, but still has a little bit different in it, because, like, some characters, if you will go into, look different, but Joseph basically looks the same throughout beginning to end of Part 3, other than his wacky costumes that I want to talk about.
For the most part. So, the one thing that... I have a lot of thoughts about JoJo's art style changes throughout the years. I really dislike the style that they went with for the Part 3 anime.
Yeah.
I thought the characters looked really, like, robotic. Something about the way that their arm muscles...
The clothes were, like, skin tight that you could see the muscles, like, where they were.
It didn't work for me, but I have to say... So, something that we've also talked about in the past is when you're looking at, like, Part 5... When you're... Okay, say, like, when I say, Part 5's art style... There's nothing, like, that statement means nothing because the art style in Part 5 changes very, like, drastically from Chapter 1 to Chapter end.
Part 4 does that, and I know Part 3 does that as well.
Yeah, so...
Which I'm pretty sure the anime took that second half art style.
Yeah, it seems to be that the anime, except part 1's kind of an outlier, because with part 1 they went with more of like a later JoJo art style, but they seem to take the end of that part's aesthetic and then they just keep things consistent. Yeah. So with part 3 here, when I look at this, I immediately think of part 2, because it feels like Araki hasn't really gone through a huge change. Yeah. And I really, really like the art, I have to say.
So this is your first time actually reading part 3.
Oh, yeah, that's something, important to, So I've read part 1, and I've read, like, the majority of part 2, and of course I've watched all the anime, but I've never read part 3 before, so... One of the things I wanted to mention before we started was I don't love part 3. I don't think part 3 is great.
I think we're doing it so you can, get that fresh thing. And it's been a while since, like, I watched it only, and I watched it until...
You read the end of it.
I read the end of it because I watched it up to where it was currently airing, which was like Iggy. Yeah. And then it was like, and then I read it from there on, and then I read I read part 2 definitely, and part 1 I think I started reading.
So when I watched part 1, I didn't care for it, but when I read part 1, I found a lot of charm to it. So I think that I can already tell you, like, reading through the first bit of part 3, I'm really enjoying. Like, there is a distinct charm that you just don't get from the anime just because of the art itself. Yeah. The way that Araki does, like, posing and shot composition is very different from the way at least I remember how part 2 worked. And
yeah. So I have some, like, I had some keynotes, but like seeing, like, the first thing you see is Jotaro as a kid and growing up from, like, looks like he's like a normal sweet little child. And
he was a good boy.
He had that weird, like, the teenage one where he had, like, the hat. Like, he looks really, like, part 1 looking.
Yeah, he does look a lot. I think it's supposed to be like the thing with Joseph where Araki wants you to think like, oh look, he's another character that looks like Jonathan.
He looks a lot like Jonathan. I got this from like the manga more than I did from the anime.
Yeah, but then we have the very iconic scene, the iconic pose of him sitting in the jail cell.
Okay. So, you see, I noticed his hat, he has this weird, like, his middle of his, like, hair, at least in this first couple chapters, where he just sticks out, like, the middle of the hat.
Yeah, Jotaro's design and Star Platinum's design change immensely within the first few chapters. It's very interesting.
He takes his hat off a lot in the first 3 chapters, which you, like, rarely, like, does, like, from, like, a little bit on, where I think in the Kakyoin chapters, he actually, like, makes a deal out of it.
Yeah, it's really funny how... It could be, it's really funny to me how distinct Star Platinum looks like in my head, and then when I'm reading it and like you get to the part where Star Platinum shows up and it's supposed to like be identical to Jotaro. It just looks almost identical to Jotaro.
Also, like, Holly looks different from like where like this arc starts and where it ends. Like,
yeah, it's funny how you can see that Araki is experimenting like immensely within these first few chapters.
Yeah. And still has disgusting cops as like part 2 had.
Yeah.
I think
there's always like these random NPC characters in the beginning of a JoJo part that are just like
the fat like round head, like probably disgusting.
Like, what is his hair?
So one thing I wanted to point out, so Jotaro is 17 years old and 6'5".
When I read that he was 6'5", I almost spit out my drink. I was like, holy fuck. To be 6'5" in Japan would be like being like 9 foot in America.
You're like a basketball player defaultly.
Literally. And it's oh my god, it's so funny. He's 17, so I think the one picture of him that looks like a good boy in the first panel, I think, or the first page, is supposed to be him in like junior high, middle school.
Hey, for all we know, he could be 2 years old and that's just him.
So one thing I really enjoy about just the way that he's drawn here, because there isn't much said in the initial bits, but you just get so much of his personality through his posing and his demeanor. And
a lot of menacing.
Yeah, you see like the menacing, what is it, Ko? I think it's
something like that.
The Ko kanji.
Also, I never knew he had like that little like bracelet. Like he just has like a bracelet on, which is like
he does. He has a lot of extra little sort of accoutrement. Accessories that are
the only ones you really notice are like the chain on and the hat, like, and like everything on the hat essentially, and the belt of course. But
his 2 belts, you mean?
Also, like the the shot of just like all like the guys like going to the bar, like bars, like, oh, they're gonna creep on her.
Yeah.
Okay, so he also can't control his stand at this point, which is interesting.
So yeah, this is a thing that I know people are always like, but it doesn't make sense. Why does Star Platinum get all? So okay, Star Platinum is bringing Jotaro all these things from the world.
I think it's stuff he wants. He's just subconsciously doing it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have like that complete like control where he does do whatever he wants. He subconsciously wants this stuff, but like can't really explain it. And he's drinking Heineken.
I love that he's okay. Not only is he drinking Heineken, he shotguns a Heineken.
Yes, it's weird.
Also, good taste. I respect it. Heineken's pretty good.
But also, so we know like stands like Star Platinum all have like that 2-meter radius, the close range stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting him stuff like from everywhere.
So yeah, that's the thing that I was mentioning, where it's one of the things like Araki forgot, blah blah blah. So
I wrote down like this is the shot of everything that he has in his room when he come back. Do you want me to read off some of the things he has?
Yeah. I think that's actually those are really good details. As you said, it's like things that he would subconsciously want.
So and just think of him getting these things into his cell.
Yeah.
So an RC car,
a very detailed RC car,
a bike, a guitar, a workout bike, and weights, like dumbbells and everything.
Yeah.
Books on ghosts, ESP, etc. Computer, multiple leather jackets, clocks, a blender, and like a motorcycle helmet, or just something like some of the things I really noticed.
I just said the blender is probably the weirdest one. It's probably the biggest outlier for me.
Because he didn't get any food to go with it, or like veggies, or fruit.
So I think here's I feel like a lot of this is going to be me trying to explain why stands are doing the things that, even though later on he says that they shouldn't do the things they're doing.
Explain this 2-meter stand went out to the city and just stole people's crap.
Okay, so here's one potential explanation. All of these things were confiscated by the police or in a police lost and found.
I guess like the jacket, the motorcycle helmet, but like
those are things that totally could be there.
Books on ghosts.
A blender could be in a police station if they're like doing a lot of RC car. No, okay. But also the other thing I want to say is something that people don't talk about too often is how stands change a lot, and stands can. I mean, this is also part of like how JoJo works. Is like stands always have very esoteric abilities. So I think we could say, because Jotaro hadn't developed his control over his stand, that it wasn't following the same rules that his stand normally follows. So maybe it doesn't have the 2-meter radius because he's not controlling it.
Yeah.
Maybe it has like a long range. I don't know. I'm just like floating out ideas because we see that stands can change abilities and like distances and things.
Yeah. But Star Platinum is like ridiculous. It can stop a bullet at like literal like
Star Platinum
point blank range.
Star Platinum is one of the most insanely powered things that I've ever seen.
Because as we learned from this arc, it's all power that's just very fast and precise is Star Platinum. It's just the characterization of Star Platinum.
And they're pretty good about that. So this is... I really want to talk about something in the Kakyoin fight, but I know we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So I won't.
A lot more Star Platinum stuff.
There is a scene in that fight that just shows how like immensely powerful Star Platinum. Like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
He's so much more stronger than like any JoJo character we've seen to this point.
Not just with his fists either.
No.
So
it's just thinking about. It's also, I think it's really important to mention how big of a change this is from earlier parts of JoJo. Like there was nothing like this.
Yeah.
I think that's why everything feels really malleable.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rules feel really strange.
Yeah.
Like we even see, so one of the things that we see is that stands are intangible. So we see the stand clearly reaching through the bar, not just like inside the bars, like it is traveling through the bars.
I know because I know later fights in part 3 that happens too, but they go through people as well. They can go through people.
Yeah.
It's in weird ways though, like sometimes they have to physically go in them, and sometimes they can fade through it.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that when we get to more some of the later stuff. There are some weird things that stands can do.
But at the same time, we see Star Platinum catches a bullet. Star Platinum grabs the gun. So stands can interact with tangible things.
Star Platinum grabbed weights. It can lift the weights. Think about that.
It can make it. It can get even stronger.
It probably could. So yeah.
Also, my biggest question is why was there a blood splatter when he shot the gun at his face when Star Platinum caught the bullet.
I know. I thought maybe it pierced his head. You maybe thought it pierced a little bit into his skin.
Maybe. I mean,
there's no blood on the bullet though.
That's true. There isn't any blood.
It's just a weird thing of just the gunpowder. I don't know.
I think it's just like to shock you into thinking that he actually shot himself, but he didn't.
I don't know. So the other thing I love is old Joseph. His really introduction of like him and Holly. Where
she tickles him.
He's still an asshole because he like literally like, knocks the guy, like pushes the guy over because he hates Japan and everything. Because in the end of part 2 had him like yelling at Japan.
Yeah, I should have checked. Is that actually at the end of?
I believe so. Yes.
Of the manga, I guess I can check it now.
But yeah, he just that's like the anime original, but just him like he'll never forgive the Japanese, which is like one of my favorite things from him. So yeah, I do love that he loves his daughter so. A lot, and like, oh wow, you really have this kid. Then you realize, oh yeah, Joe's gay. he doesn't really love.
Yeah. So at this time, like he has cheated on Suzy Q.
At this time, yeah, because at this point, Josuke fell ill, and his mom is trying to get him to the hospital in the snow, where not Josuke saves him at the child.
Which isn't, I don't know. I think people complain about that too much. I think it's
just like a plot hole.
I don't think it is a plot hole.
But I don't know, because you get the whole thing with Bites to Dust and...
But what, like, I mean, Bites to Dust isn't about, like, time traveling to, like, back in time.
But you get the feeling that it was supposed to be Josuke going back, though.
I hard disagree.
I can see where...
I hard disagree.
I can disagree. I see where people come from with that theory, and I can understand it.
So... I hate to, like, name drop other JoJo YouTubers, but Meti Not the Bad Guy, did a really good video that, like, pretty much proves that couldn't be Josuke, down to, like, looking at in Japanese schools, you have different medals for what grade you're in, and the medals that Josuke has on his collar are not the same medals that the guy has. The guy's a year older than Josuke.
I looked at it with my Star Platinum eyes to get the drawing of the darkness, and could find out that it wasn't Josuke.
I mean, I'm just spitting facts here. If you're trying to...
It's fine. I get where the theory comes from. I don't care either way.
I don't know. I hate the Iraqi forgot meme so much. It fills me with infinite rage.
But I do love Joseph and Holly. They tickle each other. I've always like the little charming thing to them being they're so similar because they're both very like free spirited, like very childlike kind of thing.
It's a really good transition from Joseph from part 2 to part 3 because he still is like a very silly character. But we see that he's a lot more serious and... But
still of a dickhead.
Yeah.
But like his daughter got his wife's characteristics, like just being like goofy.
Also, I know this is jumping ahead maybe a smidgen, but there's one scene, or not even scene, but they show like the family tree. I'm trying to show Sam.
It's like I think the 3rd chapter or the 4th chapter they have that.
Yeah, so we see the family tree of the Joestar's because it's just showing you like how Jonathan or Joseph is related to, but the picture of Suzy Q, it's fucking funny. She looks like she's smoking a weed high, and just Suzy Q Italian, and she's just like she looks like she's high.
With her mouth open, but it's probably literally just a background shot of her like talking to like Lisa or something. So
I think so. And at the same time, I was like trying to remember when did Jonathan wear that hilarious hat?
I think that was when he was investigating the blood, the poison.
When he met
he goes Overstreet. Yeah, he like, dresses up as like a detective or something. It's like really silly.
That's one of my favorite scenes of all time. Where because he's so massive, he's like as big as a city block, and he's walking around the snowy street. What an incredible
silly outfits. But silly outfits running the family. So yeah. So. Also, when Joseph actually goes to the police station, he does this thing where he picks up the cop and like a child, like, he picks up with one hand and he like lifts him up off the ground. It's like the funniest. I forgot all about that. I cracked up. I'm like, it's so silly.
Joseph is just a god.
But I love the face-to-face art of like him and Jojo like on the jail cell. I love that.
It's so cool. So this is another thing I thought was kind of weird. Rocky like drew the bars invisible. He draws the jail bars invisible for some reason, and it's really just weird to me. Like he should have just drawn a cell door, like a cell door.
I
don't know. It's just a really weird nitpick. But this is the kind of thing where it's like I really just love the art here.
Yeah.
Like one of my biggest complaints about part 3 is the faces can just be like really flat sometimes. And you see this a lot in part 2 as well. The faces, only for like the main characters, will be super flat and it looks weird. But here, like the shading that he does, especially on Joseph's face, just looks so... I don't know. There's just such a great aura to it. Also, Joseph's eyebrows grow into his hair and it's hilarious.
It's like a very like part 7 hairstyle.
It really is. Or part 6 even, like Pookie.
Pookie. So yeah. Then we get the also like speaking of faces, Abdul's face is like way different than what the I guess in the early part.
Maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I think Abdul looks way better here than he does later.
He's also like a lot more serious here than like the goofball he becomes like towards the second half of part 3. I
don't know. I really like Abdul's design here a lot. I think I'm really worried about me liking the art less as the part goes on because the art style change isn't like my favorite. Like I always just think of like early part 4 Josuke and how much I just hate the way he looks.
Early part Okiyatsu and then like
I'm sure you've seen dear listener. I'm sure you've seen the funny fucking.
I can send you that picture. I have it on my phone of like early Okiyatsu and late
Okiyatsu. The scene when he's at the Antonio Trendy's and he's like his face is shining and he's like
when his eyes literally squeeze out and his stomach like literally folds in.
Yeah. I love the part when he rips his shoulder off. He's holding like a ball of flesh.
Yeah, he's like scratching up the skin.
Hilarious.
It's horrifying, dude. So yeah.
So yeah, I think we haven't really talked about it, but Jotaro's whole thing is that he's putting himself here for everyone else's safety.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to hurt people. And so there's a very like Jotaro's a very tough nut to crack in my opinion.
Yes.
Because he's such a like he's seemingly one-dimensional. But
he wants that like delinquent like
facade. Yeah. It's almost a facade because
Holly always said. I think she has an early part. She goes on like he really is a good boy deep down. Even though he tells me to shut up or move, bitch, or something like that in those terms.
And Jotaro is cruel. He calls his mom like horrible things. Calls her bitch to her face. It's a fuck you. He's so mean to everyone. But there's certain little touches to his character that I think are really neat. Like, yeah, he's in here for everyone else's safety because he cannot control himself.
Yeah, literally, like cracking the shell of Jotaro is like the part 3, like a big thing in part 3.
Yeah,
which we do get when he gets to all his weird friends.
Culminating to the most amazing scene of all time when he looks at the picture and he smiles, and I cry because it's the greatest scene of part 3.
Okay, so I just had to read the image of like Jotaro, like it's like with the white this goo like everywhere, like that's where Jotaro ends up. Just like that, the money shot Jotaro. So, so we had the whole look of Magician's Red as well. Like
Magician's Red looks really cool initially. The I don't know, I can't describe it. The way it looks cool to me. I like him.
It's a really weird face.
It doesn't look like a chicken. Yeah. It looks like a weird, like, monster bird.
Yeah. It looks like a weird, like, urban legend, like, one of those masks that's, like, really detailed and, like, would actually, like, move and everything. Like I guess it's kind of like a Del Toro, like, mask where you actually can see the detail in it. Mm-hmm. I can see a Del Toro movie about a girl who falls in love with a Birdman, and that's Magician's Red.
And he lights her on fire.
Yeah.
And puts a fire next to her mouth so she can't breathe.
Sure.
But she's actually just fine.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, that's what...
I know the basic plot of that movie.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the plot of this chapter. Where...
I remember a movie about the water.
Shape of Water. Yeah. No, it was a decent movie.
So...
It was fine. I like Del Toro a lot.
So, yeah. He also... During the whole thing, he says that Star Platinum was in a near solid form.
I don't remember that.
He says that.
Who does?
I think Abdul says he stands in a near solid form, which is weird because it has a weird.
It is intangible a lot. Like we don't see the entirety of it until it like does its counterattack.
Yeah, because it grabs its throat. You get some shots of the non-stand user's point of view, and you can see the handprint like heavily going through its throat. But I do love those shots of like non-stand users getting a POV of like what's going on. Everyone's like, "Why is it so hot? I don't understand why it's hot." Like, just don't shut up.
Yeah,
shut up. You're a kid.
So one thing I wanted to say, I wasn't sure whether to wait for it or do it now, but I think that like I wanted to have a little conversation. Okay, let's save that for the end.
All right.
Just remind me. All right, so let's get through the rest of this. So yeah, we found the part when he grabs the neck is when he says. It's in a near solid form.
Which is weird, because I guess you can... Yeah, because we said earlier, I guess you can change the how like solid you want to make your stand or see-through, but I feel like that thing's kind of like just became completely physical at certain points and later, or as JoJo goes on.
Yeah, it's one of those things where early on the rules seem to be really flexible.
Because like I think at part 5 where like Bruno had to like get to his heart, where he probably could use his like sticky fingers to like sink in and hold the heart like Jotaro does in Dio, where he does that thing. I think after part 3 that whole thing of doing that with the stand kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Where it literally has to go physically inside of you, like crawling into some kind of one of your holes.
Yeah, except Diver Down, which Diver Down's whole gimmick is that he can just do the thing that stands can all do.
Can actually do.
Diver Down makes me angry. Because it's his best ability just is forgotten about, and it just becomes him diving into people. I mean, so how many stands could... I feel like there's other stands before that could dive. Like a Clash could do that. Like, all stands can literally fucking do what Diver Down does, except the holding whatever. At least Clash, we can't rant about... At least Clash had the gimmick of being a shark. Yeah. But, yeah, so... Crash. Yeah, so I said earlier, just one shot of... Because, Star Platinum has the headband, but there's one shot where he's moving, and he has this gold thing go across, like, the top of his head. And I'll try and... Right there. I'll try and... Yeah, okay. I'll hold it up, I'm sorry. So, yeah, I will be including images in this podcast, most likely, so, yeah, just take a look at the screen. So, when I say right there, you have to line it up perfectly. I'll try. I will not... No, but I'm really like because the headband's not there, and it's just the weird like thing that goes across the middle of his head. It's weird. So and it changes here. It changes again here. It's very interesting. But maybe Araki forgot you. I will beat you, bud. Maybe he did that art very early on. So as it goes throughout the chapter, it literally like just becomes the crown. Unless there's a weird thing where like the heat like melted his crown into that. I think it's supposed to be because if you look at his body, his design is just like very unfinished. Like I feel like it's just supposed to be like an early version. Yeah. I don't know. These are the kind of thing where it's like, how much do you really want to scrutinize these elements it's just little things I noticed, just like it's just weird. And I'm so used to seeing the crown like on his forehead and seeing this weird new headpiece is weird. Yeah. No, I'm not. It wasn't like a slight against you, but I'm just saying like, I think that especially when looking at early part 3, it's best to keep in mind of like, things are very malleable. The rules aren't set. The designs really aren't set. The bars were very malleable. The bars are extremely malleable. It's funny because like just looking at Jotaro at like the end of this chapter arc, his design feels like so much more. He had a button up, and now it's just like a shirt underneath. Also, if you remember, like the first thing of him like in jail, like a button up shirt underneath. It feels like his design just like slides into place. This is what perfectly. I'm doing. Yeah, this is what I'm doing. Yeah, the hat will stay on now. And that's something that I know a lot. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, where they really enjoy it about Araki's art. But I think it's really interesting how he will just sort of change things around. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. He did have a button up. Yeah. Hilarious. But one of the things like. But at the end of this fight, he also had a bracelet too. Yeah. But okay, here's my fan theory. So, Magician's Red melted the buttons. So it turned his button up into a regular shirt. It just melted like the whole like middle line thing just fused together as well. And he can never take it off. And I guess maybe the bracelet being one of the things that you stole as well. That's true. And he stole a new shirt. Yeah, he stole a jacket. Off camera, there was a scene where he stole a shirt. The last part of the fight, I think, still captures like the funness of the part 2 and the cleverness of part 1 fights of. He did a cool thing and just made a ridiculous thing of making the steel bars that's like swords. And then Abs was like, "Oh, I won the fight. I got you out of the jail cell." Yeah. That's it. Like, okay, that's still fun. It wasn't like a fun thing. You're still getting JoJo of being these, not always ending the way you expect it to be, of just being a fight. Yeah, I really love that because it feels like a very satisfying ending because it was told to you directly, like, this is how the fight will end. Yeah. But also at the same time, it's like a great way of resolving it without anyone having to get really hurt. And Jotaro he's like more so impressed and like, amused by that. Yeah. Like, oh, you got it. You got me.
he still has that honor kind of thing where like he wasn't gonna go for like the cheap shot, not like probably something Josuke would do where
even Joseph would totally
kick him in the balls.
Yeah, just be a total dick.
So
something we didn't mention is Dio.
Yeah, I remember in the anime there was like when they were like, fished him out, and there was that little like quiet if you remember, it goes.
Yeah, I think that was at the end of part 1.
Or was it end of part 1?
Yeah,
or end of part 2.
The end of part 1.
Oh, sorry, that was end of part 1.
Because Dio isn't in part 2.
I'm wrong. Sam is wrong, as usual.
Yeah, because I think it's the part when they're carrying the coffin. Yeah, you hear
Stupid
this tiny breeze.
There's too many coffins.
There are too many coffins.
The coffin, but yeah.
Also, it's funny that Dio's name is written on the coffin.
I know.
It's just fucking funny.
Imagine if Jonathan is in there like, huh, Dio.
I know.
Maybe I shouldn't get on this boat.
I know. What a dumb choice.
And there's this really racist Chinese caricature on this boat as well.
Yeah, I'm getting a bad vibe from this.
This very Fu Manchu looking guy.
But it was made by a Japanese guy.
So it doesn't make any... There's also a Japanese guy who says, I blame the Japanese, I'll never forgive them. He literally like did not make a Japanese character, and none of the characters are fully Japanese in JoJo.
That's not true.
Until
part 4. Like, everyone's Japanese.
Technically, he's part English, though. I meant, like, main character-wise.
Oh, okay.
MC-wise. Because everybody's, like, part or, like, half or down to a quarter, probably.
Well, I guess Gappy's probably full Jap.
He's still...
Well, actually, he's half
part of him's related to... It's related.
Oh, no, fuck, yeah, you're right. He's a Joe
Everybody had a little bit of English English American in them.
Well, yeah, it all stems back from the British for some fucking reason.
Always get that of the British.
So yeah, I think this is pretty like whatever. Like Dio's whatever, his coffin.
Yeah, Dio's back. He's gonna be the villain.
So the one thing that I really wanted to bring up was how
Dio got off that boat.
Yeah. So first off, how did he get off the boat? I guess he swam. I'm not even joking. I think he literally had to have swam.
At night,
at
night, across like who knows like how far off the coast they were.
Yeah,
you gotta wait until like they literally coasted, or they popped it open, I think. But you probably gotta like wait to pilot the boat and then.
So yeah. Luckily, there's a lot of really funny things. Luckily, they opened it while it was sunset, so like right before the sun.
Hurry it up! The sun's going down.
Yeah. Also, so this is an important detail. We're told that 4 years ago.
Yes, this happened 4 years ago.
So, jumping forward into JoJo timeline, one of the things in part 6 that's really interesting is that it goes into how Dio traveled the world, and
the world, though.
Yeah, traveled the world and like made all these connections and shit. And so it's like, damn, only 4 years. It feels like Dio should have been around longer.
It's kind of weird that he had this weird time gap of Dio doing stuff and like not just having, oh, he's back. This is why you have your punch ghost now.
Your ghost Haman. Yeah. As it was mistranslated early on, I think.
Your stand, Diesel. This is your stand.
So, yeah, I do agree. I think it's cool because it gives Dio a lot of time to like set up his empire and like convert a lot of people.
And yeah, even when we get that, like, and we're not gonna get to this arc, but you do get that, we're gonna get with Cat Queen and pulling off when they were on like vacation or like just Abdul just walking the streets and encounters Dio.
Yeah.
It's just like weird things, but he just sets up base in Egypt for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can probably like theorize on why, because like Enya and like the fucking stand arrows. I mean, there's a lot of shit.
I know, but you imagine like trying to find Dio in like a highly populated, like
if he was in
more populated
New York City.
China, like a city in China.
Oh my god, never! They would never find him.
Or actual London at this time period as well.
Yeah.
Like any major European city, really, too.
Before London has fallen has happened.
Because this is like 80. Like, did we get a year?
We didn't get a year, which I thought was interesting. At least maybe.
Not yet.
Maybe it was. I didn't check at the end of part 2. Let me do that right now. What's the name of part 2? I can't remember.
What? Battle Tendency.
Battle Tendency.
Because like, yeah, I want to say 84 is the year it takes place.
Was it really? I thought it was like 88. I'm guessing 88.
I thought it was like mid 80s, but that for all I don't. What do I know? I'm wrong.
You know everything.
No, I get minor details, not the big details.
What would you rather never get right, the minor details or the big details?
I think the minor details not right. You get mad if you don't get the major details.
People get mad at anything.
They do.
Too.
They do.
Not just you, but like people in general.
But
fun.
But yeah, you can't find.
Yeah, well, we're gonna keep vamping while I look it up.
It's just like what? Egypt seems like the most like. Especially like how they find out where Dio's location, it makes it even like sillier. Like he could literally just like win a more broad location, and I get like they're supposed to be across the world kind of trip, but they still could have made that trip like not to Egypt. They could have like hell, they could have gone to like Europe. I think for that the equal thing or.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think Araki
went to Egypt probably.
Yeah, I think he was really interested in Egypt.
He was high on that Egypt life.
Yeah, so
it's just a very unique choice, and like not like Dio's in like a actual pyramid, like in these. You gotta go find them in one of these pyramids with traps and other stands. But I'm lucky he didn't go that route.
So the end of part 2 is Joseph in the airport.
Okay. Good to know.
But it doesn't give a name. It says, and then years passed, generations followed one another. As for Jojo,
two generations.
Yes. So I don't know.
I mean, you literally just Google like
I'm sure I can look it up.
Or people are going to comment.
And that's when he said... So, yeah, he does say the damn Japanese.
Yeah, he'll never forgive them.
It's already been more than 20 years since my beloved daughter married a Japanese.
Also, that family tree like says the name of Jotaro's dad.
Yes.
It was like Sadao or Sadao Kujo. Like S-A-D...
Sadao.
Sadao.
Sadao Kujo, jazz musician.
Traveling jazz musician.
I think it's so interesting that we never see him ever in all of JoJo.
There's a lot of just some weird things. Like, you never see, like, his Jotaro's wife.
Yeah, well, I could have sworn we saw a picture of her.
We see, like, she may have been, like, just the back of her, but, like, it's like, or a very small picture of her, but you never, like, get, like, someone married such a major character, you think you would get like, a bigger, like, actual introduction, or maybe be a real character or something. Mm-hmm. A woman that's able to tame Jotaro Kujo, like, deserves to have, like, something featured on her, at least for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, speaking of that, there was a little blurb that I thought was super cool.
A blurb?
Right under the family tree, it says, throughout the generations, the men of the Joestar family have been tall, with broad shoulders, honest and true. They rise to high positions in society, only to fall to unfortunate fate. Travelers by nature, they are prone to curiosity. Love hits the Joestar men hard, but only once in a lifetime. So I thought that was pretty interesting because that's pretty like. I mean,
and then Joseph said, "I'm good. Love goes twice, maybe more for all we know." Yeah. The children. Who knows how many more children you could have possibly running around?
So okay, JoJo Wiki says that from 1988 to 1989, the story of Jotaro Kujo.
And I wouldn't call Joseph honest. And people always say that it skips a generation. Like, the whole, like, that thing skips a generation. Cause you get Jonathan, that whole thing applies. And then it skips, his kid kind of, his kid gets the same thing, but Joseph kind of gets that, doesn't really have that apply to him. He lives a long and, like, a long life. Yeah,
Joseph, I mean, I don't know. Like, you could say that he faces misfortune. Like, he loses his arm.
Hand.
Or his hand. He don't lose
his arm. He loses his hand. He loses his best friend, I guess, at the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they all suffer hardships.
But Joseph, like, suffers, like... He gets off pretty good for, like, compared to every other, like, Joestar.
Yeah. He does.
And he probably lived a better life than most of them, like, growing up as well. Like, his dad, like, you didn't have the mom or dad. He still had a good grandmom.
Yeah. So I'd have to say this little blurb is really more applicable to the early Josephs, or sorry, the early JoJos. The early Josephs. The early JoJos, whereas later on it's sort of like, I can't think of Jolene really having a love, or Johnny.
They try with
well, it's not like her love. Like, it's a character that's like loves her. Same with Johnny. Like, Johnny doesn't have.
Oh, Jolene had a whole thing with Weather though as well. Like trying.
That's true.
She had a big crush on his weird.
Yeah.
There was like no chemistry.
Pretty much.
Like no chemistry.
We know that canonically Johnny does marry, but we don't know that character.
Yeah, we know her father, but we don't know her.
Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting little blurb because
that's why like any relationship in JoJo, like part 1 and 2, like the only 2 real parts we get a real relationship that we like see a little bit.
Yeah.
CTQ like kind of like whatever, but like Arena probably got the most out of it, and who knows if Part 8 is gonna go all that way, which got Part 8 had the most romance stuff in it compared to like any other JoJo part, and that's like multiple characters with multiple romances.
I would say that it's probably not going to, because I just feel like Araki isn't interested in doing that.
He's going more like with like, you know, Jobin and his wife kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a bit. Okay, yeah, we can't.
Couples in JoJo is a weird thing, and Part 8 is doing it more so than any other part has, other than again, because Part 1 was kind of like very like basic with like, you know, main character with the love interest with like, the rival kind of thing. That basically like, you know, thing they were going for, and then he kind of goes crazy from there, but still, because Arena kind of afterthought.
Yeah. Also, one thing I think is really funny is that in the thing where it says how Dio is related to the Joestar family, it says Dario Brando killed.
There's 4 arrows that say killed or killed indirectly.
Yes, it's George II who died in World War II. It said killed indirectly.
Yeah, you remember how he died, right?
Oh my god.
I'm testing you here.
Didn't he? He crashed in a plane, right?
No. That's what they told Joseph.
Oh no, wait, shit.
Come on.
He got killed by a vampire.
Yes.
Oh my god, I remember this. Yes.
Because he was like, he's going to like a superior, and he was like a vampire the entire time, and then Lisa like kills him.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Yeah, it was that scene's incredible. It's like an old dude that is like a horrifying vampire man.
I'm glad you remembered.
I'm that weird ultimate JoJo fan.
Only thing we learned of George.
That's so sad. George if only he had the Haman. If only he had Haman, then he'd be good.
Nah, he didn't want that. So yeah. So overall, what did you think of the introduction to Jotaro?
So I very much enjoyed this.
Yes.
I was super into the art. I thought the pacing was very satisfying.
Got the kinks out of the whole stand. Trying to get the kinks still in there with the stand. Because, you know, they stand by you.
Hilarious.
Great explanation.
Doesn't Mountain Tim also name the stand?
I can't.
Is it Mountain Tim or Funny Valentine?
I think it's one of them. I think it's probably Mountain Tim since he's like way earlier on.
Because I think he says like the same thing. That's like it stands by me. Like there's a really good monologue. I remember part 7. I don't remember if it was Mountain Tim or another character that made it though.
Because he says something like a stand is like your life energy,
and it stands by you. That's what we call it, a stand.
Get it? Yuck.
I think another detail. Jotaro kicking the toilet with his normal human leg and completely destroying the pipes is hilarious to me.
More clever stuff. You know how he's a Joestar. He does clever things like that.
True.
That's why I said I liked about the last part of it. It really just shows he still got that same cleverness he got in part 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. This is good.
And you're going to get just as many ass pulls as you are from those.
So... really, like, before we wrap this up, my biggest complaints of part 3, I'm sure people like hate that I don't like part 3.
Everybody got a part of JoJo they got issues with. We made ours clear if you listen to this.
Yeah. My problems with part 3 are really just the structure of it. It feels like it goes on too long. It feels like some of the stand fights are just kind of boring.
Well, you don't like the sun?
To be honest, I literally do. I know that's like people hate, but to me the sun is the most like interesting of the weird one-off stand fights because it's like such a non-fight.
It's like a fat guy. It's the man behind. They'll look at the man behind the curtain kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I just
that could
think
be what
like
it's based off of as well.
Probably, honestly,
because I know a lot of these part 3 fights are based off horror movies for the most part.
My favorite horror movie, The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, it is.
It is pretty scary. Actually,
a lot of people were horrified with the flying monkeys.
Yeah. For the time.
and the little, like, woman melting, screaming for her life.
Yeah, the monkeys, the screaming.
Her sister
the tornado scene's a little scary, too.
Her riding on the bike, yeah.
If you're
that 1930s horror. If you didn't see Metropolis, you gotta watch the horror movie.
Well, that would have been, like, 1910s.
Metropolis, no, I think 1920s, I think.
Prove it. Look. I'm a true Metropolis fan.
I know your Metropolis poster.
I'm pointing to Metropolis
poster. Metropolis has some freaky ass crap. There's some freaky ass like black and white silent films, man. Like especially like Nosferatu, of course. Has like
I would always love to watch Nosferatu. I've never seen it.
There's some other really creepy.
Okay, Metropolis is 1927.
Ooh, yeah, close.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you
was right, man.
for the first time.
Hey, I got my time to shine.
To be honest, I watched Metropolis and I thought it was kind of boring.
Oh,
It was too long.
It is very long. I liked it more so just for the effects they did at the time. That's I had a really good appreciation. I had a good appreciation for those.
The problem is like the effects are few and far between. Like, I mean, it is like a class struggle movie, so a lot of the scenes are like workers rebelling and like, you know what I mean? Like, so the parts with the robots are neat, but it's such a like lost film. Like, so many segments of it are lost that it's hard to parse it.
So we get the George Joestar, the light novel. We'll get to the Stan Metropolis. That's just a robot. that's my OC Stan inside that universe.
Yeah.
NYPD Blue.
NYPD Blue is the greatest OC Stan.
I know.
And by OC Stan, I mean literal canonical.
I know there's the audiobook for Purple Haze Feedback, but is there one? Is there one for George Joestar?
I don't think so.
If there is, let us know or make one.
So did I tell you about my listening to the Purple Haze Feedback audiobook? The guy who did it, okay, bless his soul. He put a lot of effort into doing it, but his accent was so fucking funny because I think he was from Spain, and anytime he did like a stand yell was the funniest thing I'd ever heard in my entire life. He'd be like, oh, ra, 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 ra. It was, oh my god, it was hilarious.
Muda, 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 muda.
But much love to him because I didn't have to read a stupid light novel. And I have to say, the Purple Haze Feedback has some fucking awesome shit near the end.
That's why a lot of people love it so much, man.
Yeah, there's some there's like two fights in particular that I thought were so fucking cool. One of them, I won't say that.
I think, I still have to get around listening to that, but we definitely will do.
It is, you should, whenever you're like, you have some time, if you're fucking doing something menial, just put the audiobook on.
Can I put that on over while I'm playing Monster Hunter?
Yes, you could.
Okay.
I don't know, like, yeah, I listen to podcasts when I play Monster Hunter.
So.
Yeah, there's one fucking guy, Rainy Day Dreams Go Away. It's like a really stupid stand name. Fucking awesome. That's the writing of that. I was so impressed by how good the writing of this light novel was. Okay.
So I think we're off to a good start with part 3, which is
I agree. Good. This is a very good start.
Yes. And hopefully it'll get better from here.
I love Jotaro a lot, actually.
So far?
Which I wasn't expecting to like Jotaro as much as I did, but yeah.
So, I mean, he is the Jojo that people say, oh, who's Jojo? And like, you'll have a picture of Jotaro come up on like the first picture.
Yeah, and I kind of like don't... He's definitely my least favorite Jojo, probably. Maybe not least favorite, but he's...
In their part? Because I love Jotaro, like, outside of the part.
Yeah. I'm talking about, like, looking at a JoJo for, like, per part.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, like... my problem with Jotaro is I don't like that he's, like, the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
Because it's always part 3 Jotaro, who's it's the worst incarnation of Jotaro.
Especially through In Eyes of Heaven, he is, like, the character in it. Like, yeah. Like, I feel like every other character should have got a real moment to shine in it, and they don't get that. Like, only certain characters, and they're not even, like, the JoJos that get character moments in that game.
And I think about things like Jump Force, where...
It's Jotaro and
Jotaro is, like, the icon. I actually just went to a ramen place about a month or so ago, and they had a huge... All the walls had, like, fucking manga and anime art, and they had, like, a really cool mural of, like, every major Shonen Jump guy. Yeah. And, of course, it's Jotaro.
If you had your pick, like, who would your poster boy be?
So, okay. I've thought about this.
Yeah. Putting you on the spot, this is your question. If you didn't have Jotaro as your poster boy, who would you pick?
I would honestly go Josuke.
Josuke?
I think Josuke, especially, like, late part 4 art, like, the one scene, I've talked about this before, it's, like, my favorite, like, panel of JoJo, where the final shot of part 4, where he poses, where he throws his bag over
with the hand on the hip one?
Yeah, his hand is like the size of like 3 times the size of his face, and yeah, he puts his bag over his shoulder. It's iconic to me. Like when I think of JoJo, like I think of like Josuke, even though he's not my favoriteest. But...
You get the hero and the villain, and like when I think like you get Jotaro and Dia, but I get that face to face picture of him and Kira, of Josuke and Kira is really good. And when I say villains, I think of Johnny and Funny. And those are like the three I think of the most, but like...
Because to me, like, no one makes sense to pick as, like, the main JoJo, because, like, Johnny feels like... He feels like not a JoJo, and I know that sounds really weird to say, but he's so different from, like, all the other JoJos.
He is, and it's more so Gyro's story, and like how Giorno is more so Bruno's story. And Jolene, I think, because her design is more... It's like Jojo, where like, her design is just like all like the most famous thing about her. I think that's why people like her so much. My hot take is that people like her design more than her actual character.
That's a big
hot take.
A big hot take.
That's a hot take. That's my...
I don't like Jolene. Pissing off the Jolene fans.
I made it clear I don't like Part 6 and I don't like Jolene.
Okay, so just sorry to go back really quick. So yeah, I think Jolene's not a great representative because she feels too individualistic.
Yeah, I think she has a great design, but yeah.
Jonathan is just too... Jonathan and Joseph both... Okay, maybe...
Jonathan and Joseph look alike. That's the whole thing where they look identical.
So the reason why I would pick Josuke to be like the JoJo like representative is because he feels like a distillation of like parts 1 through 3 Joseph's like into one.
Yeah.
Kind of like Giorno, and where Giorno also feels too individualistic, Josuke feels like the perfect mishmash of like most of JoJo.
Yeah.
This is like a really conceptual idea. But
who
would you pick? If you had to pick just one?
I like the Josuke option because I think you got to pair him up with their villain, and I think Josuke pairs up with Kira like great as well because Kira is iconic as well because the whole David Bowie thing, and even his other look is like pretty iconic.
That first like reveal of Kira he looks so fucking cool. Like that one really famous panel.
The cool thing is you have a cool villain and a cool Stan. Mm-hmm. So and like you got Jojo, you got Star Platinum, you got Dio in the world. Both awesome, iconic, great. Even their fights are great. And Killer Queen, this is iconic, and Kira, like David Bowie, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I think I like Dio more than I like Jotaro.
Everybody loves Dio. Like Dio has the moments in the last fight. Like, everybody remembers Dio's stuff. They don't remember. Maybe they remember like the magazine under his coat. That's it. For Jotaro. But Jotaro's like, what is Dio doing next? Oh no, he's got this.
Yeah, fucking road roller.
Oh no, this poor politician. And maybe... I was like, we still had that OVA to watch for part 3 as well.
We'll do that eventually.
Yeah, maybe we do that toward the end. Or when we're done.
Alright.
But yeah, we were worried that we don't have enough time to talk about anything about these just 3 chapters. But here we are talking 50 minutes plus.
I feel horrible that this is so fucking long.
I mean, we talked about it. If people don't, they can stop listening. Don't want to hear the other extra stuff.
That's true. Yeah, if you don't like this...
We always do. We talk about the main stuff early, then we kind of just, ramble about JoJo.
I think that's why people listen to us, though. It's because people just like to hear people talk about JoJo.
Yeah, people love rambling about stuff they like, and we just like JoJo that much. We like to ramble about it.
The reason why podcasts are so good is because you can pretend like you're part of the conversation.
How many of our con road trips are just talking about like I think when you read part 7, we spent like the entire car ride talking about part 7. It was great.
It was great.
So
I mean, I've talked about this before, but this is why I love manga so much, because it's a really like any long form media is that when you read all of it, you have such a strong connection with anyone that's read it. Like you can immediately, like if 2 people who are caught up on One Piece meet, they have so many things they can talk about.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great icebreaker.
Yeah. Like, I told you before about that at con, and there was talk about like One Piece fans, and it's one day we talked about like we both were cosplaying Law from One Piece, and we just talk about like how much we love it, and just like it wasn't awkward. Just like, oh man, I love this. Like, oh man, I love that too. Just really cool to talk to someone who's like really interested in what you are as well, but not like overly like.
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line.
There's that line of you met that person who's like does not want you. You not walk away till you say you will watch it, or has shoved it into your face until you won't stop.
Yeah, like you with JoJo and me. Shoving JoJo in my face. I got it,
but do you...
No, I don't. I love JoJo.
I kept saying it, man.
I know.
But...
That's the thing. Like, JoJo fans are, like, horrible, but their heart's in a good place.
Yeah. I want you to get the later JoJo, man. Yeah. You don't regret it.
Yeah, by far.
And here we are now doing a podcast.
On the worst JoJo.
We're not on part 6.
I think part 6 is like infinitely better than part 3, but whatever. We'll get to that later. We have to end this now, or I'm gonna blow my brains out like Jotaro.
There's difference between part 3 and 6, so we'll get to it. But so yeah, anything else you want to say, or should we just get to the plug-in part?
Actually, we missed something really important. Joseph Joestar is a true American hero.
I can't wait to talk about his funny outfits in the next part when we talk about chapters, 4 to 8? Or
4 to 8, yeah.
So, with the Kakyoin stuff, so...
Kakyoin.
Kakyoin.
I'm going to call him Kakyoin because I think it's funnier.
Kakyoin. I don't know. And so if you want to come back and do the read-along with us, I'm not sure when these are being released.
All right, so here is my... Don't hold me to this.
Yeah, Jim, you were kind of discussing one of two ways to do this. So.
Okay, so I have recently had a big change in my life. I have a job. Well, I mean, I've had a job.
Yeah, the big boy job.
I have a big boy job now, so it takes a lot of my time. Mm-hmm. So we can't meet as frequently. Well, we can, but it's a bit more of an issue to meet frequently.
Yeah.
So I would like to get these out weekly. You will obviously tell if it's not out weekly.
I mean, if we do it just have 2 videos a month, I'd be happy.
I would be totally happy with that. I'd like this to be like a slow burn series that we kind of just do, just to have other things going because we don't have anything else to publish right now.
Yeah, until the 19th of the month. Yeah. So yeah, keep an eye on me. We'll when we decide how it works out or scheduling.
Yeah, my goal at least is to have the first few weeks come out weekly, and then if it just becomes impossible, then it will be impossible.
We're trying to get a couple done while I'm over here. So
yeah.
So yeah. So if you haven't listened to our Part 8 discussion podcast, do that if you're a active reader, current reader.
I'm just shocked at the idea of someone listening to this and not knowing our main big thing.
Yeah, we talk about everything, stuff how it relates to everything. We do that a lot, especially in early part 3. I love to see how it was early on to how I remember it now.
Yeah,
by the end. So yeah, also
Same.
Subscribe if you haven't.
Hell yeah, and comment.
I put that question in there. Who do you think it wasn't for? If not Jojo, who was your poster child for Jojo?
Yeah, what Jojo is the peak Jojo?
Even though a lot of now there's a lot of Japan, a lot of gappy on everything a lot because that's the current thing. But
yeah, I think that's one of the problems you face when you have a question like that is recency bias.
Yeah,
but I think that I
think Josuke's a solid answer.
Yeah, Josuke to me he feels like JoJo.
Yeah.
He feels like he encapsulates the spirit of JoJo.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a question. And then I think Jim has the links in the bottom to Twitter's, the actual official, and then our separate ones as well.
Yeah. Sure.
And anything else that I'm missing?
No.
No?
check out our channel. If you click around, we have a lot of check out the playlist. Because we have a lot of different things we've done.
We've done Diesel, of course.
We've done Diesel. We've done a Hunter x Hunter podcast.
Yes, Part 5 anime.
Yes. Oh my god, we've done so much fucking shit.
Yeah, I know. There you go. There's some deep cuts if you really want to dive down that old rabbit hole. But
yeah, I'm thinking about just deleting them.
No, don't. I keep a couple.
I hate it. Maybe a couple. We'll see.
Keep the Tiger on.
Yeah, of course. Naturally.
It's one of our the old popular one. But so yeah, I say we need to start the Chimera Ant arc soon.
Hell
but
yeah.
I gotta get mentally prepared to do a deep dive into Hunter x
It'll
Hunter
take
again.
you a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Because I read through I just did 180 chapters of Fire Force, so reading it. Been reading a lot of manga lately, so
manga's better than anime.
Quick recommendations: Chainsaw Man.
Yes.
And the Fire Force manga is pretty good, and Dr. Stone. We
will be doing a Chainsaw Man episode of whatever. We'll talk about Chainsaw Man sometime, in a more long form setting.
All right, and
we need to end this.
All right, thank you very much for listening. Then
thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, a whole 59 minutes or so, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.